And welcome everybody to Flight Past. My name is Simon, and this is a history podcast using Microsoft Flight Simulator to have a look at key moments in history from the air, so we get a unique perspective on the distances and terrain of these key historical moments. And at the moment we're looking at D-Day. We're on the North French coast on the Cotentin Peninsula, and today we'll be looking at the 82nd Airborne and their role on specifically D-Day itself. The operation was called Operation or Mission Boston. We've already looked at the 101st Airborne. We looked at their operation, which was Albany, which was in this area to the east of Sainte-Mere-Eglise, but the 82nd Airborne was tasked with objectives mainly to the west of Sainte-Mere-Eglise. This is the route we're going to take today. We're going to fly in the Fiere across the route they would have taken. We'll have a look at some of the drop zones in the area to the west of Sainte-Mere-Eglise, and then we'll look at a couple of the objectives, and we'll end up flying down to Caratan and then to this place called Gran, Montmartin-en-Gran. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this was where the furthest misplaced drop of paratroopers occurred. So, without further ado, as they say in YouTube parlance, let's get jiggy with it. Feel free to ask any questions. If you've got anything that you know or about this part of the history, then let me know and I'll address it in future episodes. So I'm going to fly this now, and we'll see how we get along. Let's just get my notes up. Now, we did a whole section on the approach that they would have taken from England in their C-47s, and with a bit of research we found out that our presumption that there was some sort of beacon, a Rika beacon or signal somewhere out in the channel, I think proved to be correct. And what happened is that they had a boat. Let's just get this. They had a boat out in the channel. It might have been a buoy or a buoy, or it was an anchored boat. And let's just get the map up here. It was in somewhere in the region between Alderney, which is this island here, and Guernsey, and it had a code name called Hoboken, and it was where they sort of used to approach, and then they would take a bearing from that. Now we know that the 101st Airborne actually crossed the land down here in this uniquely shaped bay, which made it easy for them to see. But the 82nd Airborne approached here on this peninsula, which we're about to cross in a second. So let's do that. This was codenamed Peoria, Peoria, and it crossed between. There's a little town called Le Piau, and this is where they came across on the night. So this feature here would have been easier to spot, and that makes sense. 82nd Airborne was the most experienced airborne unit. They had been, the 505th had been in Sicily and Italy with the 504th. The 504th hadn't made it back in time to participate, so this operation was conducted by the 505th, 507th and 508th. So we'll follow this magenta line all the way into the objective. I love seeing each day a few subscribers more. The channel only just started, and we've been trying to do a video or a series of videos of this, like these every week. So you, if you enjoy this content, then please like and subscribe. We're on 10 at the moment, and I really want to be ambitious. I think we could probably get to 15. Maybe by the end of the month, but we don't know. I just appreciate that anybody likes to listen to this stuff. So the 82nd Airborne, commanded by well, it was divided into 3 sections for the mission. There was A, B and C. Force A was basically this force we're in now, flying in. You can see on the scroll down below a list of all the aircraft, the information I found on the serials and the where they were flying from. This Force A is commanded by Brigadier General James Gavin, also known as Jumping Gavin, because he liked to jump with his troops, and he used to be the commander of the 505th, and so he would jump with the 505th today on D-Day. I got a picture of him as well. That's him, looking rather snaz. Force B was the gliders that will be coming in later in the day. You gotta remember, we should really be flying here at night at about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Gliders will be coming in 2 waves at 3 and 9 the next day. They were commanded by General Ridgway, the overall commander. He will be coming in with the gliders on that day. So James Gavin is basically the second in command of the whole 82nd Airborne. And Force C, that was hello Lenny, good to see you. That reminds me, we're live, we're on the West European server, so if you've got Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can join me and check out a few of the sites. Yeah, so Force C was a seaborne element. They will be coming in with the main invasion fleet, and they would be commanded by George Powell. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite featureless terrain. Every town looks the same. It has a church in it. It has, yeah, they're not very distinctive villages. The rivers are small, hard to see. The hills are low, so you can see why a lot of the time these guys, when they were coming in, didn't hit their drop targets, and there's a number of reasons for that. The main one, of course, is it's night time. So regardless of what else was happening, it would have been a difficult job to do at night, and it's one of the reasons why they insisted on doing a daytime drop on Market Garden, Operation Market Garden in September. Let's change the scroll, see if we can find something else for you to look at. Yeah, let's have a look. These are the regiments. So the leader, so because the 82nd was the, I suppose, senior Airborne Division, the one with the most experience, they were given the task which was deemed the most riskiest. So they were jumping further west, further away from the beach, and they so they were the furthest, and because they were the furthest away, they were deemed therefore to be the first troops to meet any counter-attack that the Germans might put up. The 505th actually, though, were pretty well experienced, especially their Pathfinders. Their Pathfinders were coming in at about 20 past 1. Of course, the other thing, of course, with the 82nd, they were jumping after the 101st. So this makes it even more riskier for them because yeah, the Germans have been alerted, you know, and they're now expecting more. But the 505th, because of their experience and the Pathfinder's experience, managed to get their Eureka beacon set up. They found the drop zone, and with these holophane lamps as well, they signalled where each regiment would each battalion would form up to. And and as you can see on this map here, this is the 82nd drops. Each one of these is a stick, and you can see that the red ones are quite clumped around the north west of Sainte-Mere-Eglise, and 75% of these sticks landed in the within, I think, about 2 miles of the drop zone. Okay, so we are approaching the area. What we have below us here, just to the right off the nose, is drop zone T. I will come back and circle back to this area later. Drop zone T was where the 507th came down. Drop zone N is to the south over there, and just on the other side of this river we should see the drop zone O. Now this is the railway line coming below us, and what we can see ahead of us now is Sainte-Mere-Eglise, and this area on the other side of the river, but between this river and Sainte-Mere-Eglise, this is drop zone O, and so this is where the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment would drop. This is Sainte-Mere-Eglise. As you can see, the drop zone is not too far away, and this is the main objective of the 82nd Airborne. Ignore this modern road, this is a bypass here. The 82nd Airborne's main objective on D-Day was to capture this town, because it was a vital crossroads of several major roads. This is circle background. Really enjoying this Huey. It's by Tailhanger. Really good. So the whole drop involved about 369 aircraft, and as I say, they will be going backwards and forwards in 3 waves over the course of the day. The Pathfinders would land, and they would set up their Eureka beacons and these holophane light signals. They were almost, I think they lit them, and this meant that the lead C-47s could use their Rebecca receivers to hone in on the zone. And because of these Pathfinders were so experienced from Sicily and Italy, this was one of the most successful drops around here. Pathfinders would jump in at about half an hour before the main drop, and the first drop was scheduled to come in about 10 minutes after the 101st finished dropping to the east, a little bit further away. And each serial would come in with about a 6-minute interval. Each stick was about 15 to 18 men. Okay, let's the 82nd, as say, weren't too far away from Sainte-Mere-Eglise and actually managed to capture it at around about 4:30 in the morning. We spoke about Richard Winters and his he landed at around about 1 o'clock, 1:30, and pushed on through Sainte-Mere-Eglise at 3 o'clock. So all of these guys were aware of other objectives, and so that they could be use their initiative. So obviously Winters must have felt that he wasn't needed here. He pushed on to his own objective, which was the exits to the causeways. 82nd then anyway take over, and what they do is they push basically as the troops sort of organised, they pushed up the 2nd Battalion of the 505th. They moved them up here, north of the town, and they basically one single platoon, the 3rd platoon of D Company of the 505th, put in a blocking position around this point here to the north. Let me just jump out here. We have a quick scooch around. Yeah, so they put in some defensive positions up here, and they mid-morning they came under attack from 2 companies of the 1058th Grenadier Regiment, and they were coming down from a place called Nouveau au Plan. And so this one company delays these 2. So one platoon delays 2 companies from getting to into Sainte-Mere-Eglise. They repel the threat for something like 8 hours. They also had a block the routes coming from the south. All right. Let's head over to drop zone T. So drop zone T was one of the more disorganized drops. If I can find this is the Merdere River, and this is the railway line. So drop zone T is this way. We head to the northwest. Now, it's all very green here right now. Let me just pause here, jump out. The Merdere River was actually flooded, so all this green area here is flooded. And drop zone T was where the 507th were coming in. Now the Pathfinders, from what I read, landed successfully in this area here, and but because they had Germans nearby, they couldn't set up their marker lights, and so many of the C-47s trying to locate this drop zone failed. And only, I believe, 3 sticks land actually in this area. A lot of them overshoot and land into this flooded area beyond the drop zone. So let's have a look at the notes. So you can see a lot of them was pushed further to the east. It's not known accurately how many drowned, but you can imagine that if you've got heavy equipment, you're weighing over 100 pounds, 100 to 150 pounds, and you land in water, and you might be in a slight dip or whatever, you can see how you might struggle to extricate yourself from your parachute. It's believed that about 185 overall losses on D-Day from the 82nd. So the estimates about how many were actually drowned in these sort of swampy areas ranges from a few to 20s, 10s, but the main thing as well is they were losing their equipment. So if the equipment came down, especially they had these leg bags in these swampy areas, you're just not going to find them again. And you can see how this is a little bit dipped, and you can see the rise up to the drop zone there. And so a lot of these guys on this area were coming down on the 101st drop zone area, further to the east, and that's why you hear a lot of the time that like Dick Winter says he meets up with lots of 82nd guys because they basically got overshot. This is the area as well that Jumping Gavin, James Gavin, came down in, and he would head down to the south and meet up with elements of the 505th down at the bridge at Fiere. Let's go in now and have a look at the 508th drop zone, which was labelled N. Whoa. Okay, reset. There we go. So, let's find the river again. Yeah, so this is just circle here. I'm just going to try and locate myself again. It's very easy to get lost on this this map. Okay. So we want to go. Let's head this way. We should pick up the river. Okay, so below us is Amfreville. Ahead of us is the bridge at La Fiere, which we're going to come back to in a second. So let's just skirt around to the right here. And you can see out the window there. This is the area of drop zone N. Let's just pause here. So yeah, so let's see where we are. Okay, so we've got in the distance there is Sainte-Mere-Eglise. We've got Amphiville here to our north, and so the drop zone is this area here. And this is where the 508th were targeting. And let me just change the scroll. The 508th, they had a lot of problems coming into this area. The cloud bank, the Pathfinder aids weren't working, and flak, all these sort of things meant that a lot of these people missed the target. Only 25% of the 508th came down within a mile of this drop zone. So half of the regiment weren't available for their objectives, which we can see going along the bottom there. So down to the south here, we can see the villages of Picqueville and Etienneville, and this is where the a first lieutenant called Branham, he was from the headquarters company of the 3rd Battalion of the 508th, so he came down over here, and he's trying to get back to where he should be, back up to the north. And this is when he meets a car that's speeding towards Picqueville, and he wanted the car, and he stepped out in front of it and shot this guy, and it turned out he shot General Wilhelm Folly. He was a divisional commander, so he was in charge of the 91st Air Landing Division, and so he turns out he was the most senior German officer to be killed on D-Day. Okay, let's head back now to La Fiere. So we'll just do a quick fly along the river. So the major objective, of course, was Sainte-Mere-Eglise. The second major objective was to seize and capture these bridges on the Meurthe. And it's a similar sort of thing to Pegasus Bridge on Lyon. They wanted to capture them intact, so that and defend them, so that they deny the control of the bridges to the Germans. And then, once the build-up on the beaches, which were ahead of us here, got to a certain stage, they can then change those defensive positions to an offensive position. There was two bridges on the Douve that they wanted to destroy, but these ones were to be captured. And this one here is La Fiere. There's a bridge at one end, and you can see this road here, which is a causeway. This whole area was flooded because the Germans had shut a lock down at Caratam. And as you can see, there's not many crossings here. The next bridge is this one which we're going to come up to where those white buildings are, and that's Chef du Pont. So let's and this is Chef du Pont here. As you can see, this whole area is very exposed, and it turns out that the main threat and push was coming from La Fiere. So they could bring troops from Chef du Pont up to La Fiere to support it. So let's find the scroll. Let's do the morning of Lafayette, which would be here. Okay, so the hamlet of let's just take a little bit of a break here, and then we'll talk about the Battle of Lafayette. I'm just going to grab a glass of water, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, welcome back to the stream. See if I can get the... There we go. Get the image back up again, that does help. So we are currently flying to the west of Sainte-Mere-Eglise, which is now to our right here, and right in front of us here is drop zone O, and we're going to be talking about the Battle of La Fiere. The responsibility from the Germans' point of view was the Grenadier Regiment of the 1058th. They're part of the 91st Infantry Division. And they held the exit of the sort of causeway across the bridge at La Fiere. The actual objective to capture the bridge was given to the 1st Battalion of the 505th, and they came from Drop Zone O back there and approached this bridge here below us. And they were commanded by Major Frederick Kellum. He actually had 2 tasks on D-Day. One was to capture that bridge, and the other one was to capture the one at Chef du Pont. But at the time, in the morning, he didn't have enough troops to do both, so he concentrated on La Fiere. And he gave the task of capturing the bridge to the A Company, and that was commanded by Lieutenant John Dolan. So I'm going to try and keep flying for a bit. I felt like sometimes we jump out of the helicopter a little bit too much, but if you want me to, and let me know. The railway line is obviously a very important strategic position as well. But Dolan comes along towards this hamlet here of La Fiere. Let's see if I can just slow here. And towards this bridge. Okay, let's jump out now. So he comes down this road. He's got elements of the 507th with him as well. And he tries to take this position. But is initially repelled. At this point, by the way, James Gavin, who was landed over here in this fields, has come round and joined. Early in the morning, it's around about daybreak. This is when Dolan is repelled. They eventually more and more paratroopers start to form up. We're getting to probably maybe about 500 at this time. And the senior commander in the area, other than James Gavin, is Colonel Roy Lindquist, and he's the corps commander of the 508th, who's here. And so he takes control, organizes another assault on La Fiere, and with several different elements, they managed to assault this hamlet here and to seize control of the bridge. And they manage, there's Captain Schwartz Walder. He manages to comb across this causeway to the in the direction of Amphibious, which is this village up here, and he managed to make contact with the 2nd Battalion of the 507th, which had basically were in this area here. Around about sort of mid-morning, this hodgepodge of elements of different companies are basically then taken out and replaced by the 1st Battalion of 505th, whose objective this was. And this position then becomes under increasing artillery fire from that point on. And at this point, this is around about midday, so the bridge is secured, but they're coming under a lot of stress. Let's move on now, and let's change the scroll. Let's move to the afternoon now of the 6th of June. So around about 4 o'clock, we get some tanks, and these are Renault tanks, French tanks, seized by the Germans. They are known as Bultpanzer, and they basically start coming down this road here. And they drive down onto the low ground, onto the causeway, and start approaching down this road. So you can see from here the importance of that high ground on the eastern bank, and how this is a raised causeway section, and there was no way that people were going to come across these open fields, so they had to come down this road. There was the 505th, the 1st Battalion, they had 2 teams of men with bazookas either side of the road, in these sort of areas here, and the bazookas are a good weapon against a tank, but it needs to be close. You don't want to be firing it at anything more than 50 yards, so the tank needs to be, in this sort of position here if you're firing from here, maybe even a little closer. The tanks are being followed by infantry as well, so they've got infantry in support. So these 2 teams, they open fire, and one of the teams is put under pressure, pulls back, leaving their equipment. The other one destroys a tank, one of the tanks. It's a little bit confusing of the order of actually what happened, but one of them takes the first tank out. I think the other one takes another one out, and then they are under pressure from the infantry, and one of the teams pulls out of it. And one of the teams runs out of ammunition on their bazooka. So at this point, the major, who is over this side of the river, recognizes the issue that these teams have got, and this is Major Callum, and him and his deputy, Captain Dale Royston, run across the bridge to try to get ammunition to these teams, and they're both killed. So this is a crisis point now, and this is why this bridge is so important. If the Germans could capture this bridge, then obviously the drop zone then gets exposed, drop zone O, then you have a threat on Sainte-Mere-Eglise, and then the whole thing starts to sort of unwind. So at this point a third tank appears, and this is the real crux. So the third tank's approaching, and this is when one of the paratroopers, Marcus Hein, and his teammate, loader Gordon Prime, they recognize that the situation, and also know that there's the first team has abandoned some equipment here, and they manage to get to the equipment, and they fire the third round a tank, and manage to destroy it. So that attack is repelled. This is sometime in mid-afternoon. And then at 8 o'clock in the evening, Lieutenant Colonel Maloney, he arrives, been instructed to move up from Chef Le Pont, which is here, which is this bridge here. This is quiet in this area. You can see that it's a lot more exposed, so the Germans didn't come this way. But so he comes back and he arrives at La Fiere at about 8 p.m. with 100 men. And let's just, whilst we're here, I know I'm trying to just do D-Day, but we might as well just quickly mention what happens from this point. The 7th of June, so the next day, the position is now reinforced by the 1st Battalion of the 325th Glider Infantry Regiment, who have landed here at drop zone O, and they come in and reinforce this position. It's still being constantly bombarded by the Germans. This is the sort of ridge that they're holding. There's, you can see here, by the way, this is Brigadier General Gavin's monument, and his foxhole somewhere on here. And you can see the importance of this high ground now. Sat here, this had to be denied. So they were reinforced, they were dugging, and they were being bombarded. So I think Ridgway decides that he arrives. By the way, this is this guy here, Matthew Ridgway. He decides that that the sector is safe for now, that Maloney and Linquist have got the situation under control. On the 9th of June, they try to extend, push. They must feel confident that they can now move more offensively, and the 1st Battalion of the 325th, commanded by Major Sanford, tried to push up the causeway but to fail. And then this was in the morning, and then they decided to do a creeping barrage between about 10:30 and 10:45, and they push up this road. A Sherman tank is taken out by the American Airborne's own mines. They'd mined the road and had forgotten to remove it, so one of the Shermans was taken out by it. And so it was slow progress up this road, trying to link up with elements of the 507th. And it's in this area around here, I'm not quite sure, but this is where Private Charles D. Glopper of Company C, 325th Glider Infantry Regiment, he covers his comrades' retreat, trying to covering fire, and he gets awarded the Medal of Honor, and that's his area here. I'm sorry I haven't got much more information on that one. I'll see if I can remember to come back to that later when we do the Normandy campaign in detail. They get to Monte, and they set up a defensive position here. And then June the 10th, so we're talking 4 days in the 357th Regiment, which belongs to the 90th Infantry Division. They've arrived from Utah Beach, and they've come up here now, and they cross, and through sheer weight of numbers, now push the Germans off this higher ground, push them back, and basically pushes them away from the possibility of threatening Lafayette. So that's the Battle of Lafayette. If anybody has anything else to add, please do. Otherwise, we'll just jump now and we'll head south. I'll just have a quick break, get a glass of water, and I'll be back in a second. And welcome back, everybody, to Flight Past. And we are currently halfway through, or 2/3 way through, our talk on the 82nd Airborne. We're in the Huey. And we've just spoken about Lafayette, the Battle of, which is here. And now we're going to head down the Meurderie a little bit. We're going to cross over to the Douvre. We're going to look at all these mission objectives that these guys had. And then we'll head down towards Gran. let's change scroll. So this area we talked about is flooded. We've got the drop zone T up here, and the main mission, one of the secondary mission objectives, was basically that this sort of ridge of high ground, which is here, comes from this area where it says Cost 2. Wait, whoa. What are you doing? There's a village here called Golbsville. I think that's how you spell it, say it. And it's from basically this area here, south to the hill around. It's called Pont l'Abbé at the time. Well, we'll head this way. Basically, this sort of direction down here was where they would want. The 82nd would have put in a sort of a defensive sort of perimeter to stop counterattacks and a German build-up. So we'll head now. We'll follow the. This is drop zone D. We're going to head now back. We'll fly down to Chef du Pont. So that was the other bridge that they wanted to capture. And this was because, as we said, after 4 days they had turned, the build-up had been happening, and they wanted to turn these defensive positions, which is this place here, La Fiere, and the Chef du Pont. They wanted to capture these bridges so that they can now change onto the offensive, which they were beginning to do, as we just said in the last episode, around about the 10th. We're now coming up on Chef du Pont. So the other bridges, they wanted to these two bridges they wanted, and then the Douvres bridge, which was further south, which we will head now across. There was two bridges that they wanted to destroy. And it's these, because of the way that the drops were scattered, these objectives were no longer weren't achieved, but there was they did manage to sort of basically do the same thing by denying the Germans the higher ground above. So none of the objectives of clearing areas west of the Meurdere or destroying the bridges of the Douvres were achieved. But because they held this higher ground near the Meurdere, they disrupted the counterattacks and basically managed to achieve what they wanted anyway. And even though they didn't meet up for a few days, there were still two companies in Amfreville that denied the Germans the ability to counter-attack. So this is we're coming up on the town or village of I think it's Etienneville, and we can see here on our left, this is the bridge that they wanted to destroy but failed. I'm just going to pause here and jump out. This is so we can see, if you can see, right, it's not obvious, but this sort of direction here was the sort of the line that they wanted to put in a defensive block to prevent the Germans coming down from the from Cherbourg or across here. And this area here, this high ground you can see here, was called I believe it was called Renouf, and this is what they wanted to sort of one of the objectives was to try to hold this place here and in that sort of direction back to Sainte-Mere-Eglise. But because of the dispersion, that wasn't. It was done in sort of pockets rather than in actual, solid control. So this bridge was not destroyed. And we'll head now down the Douvre, and we'll head to Sainte-Mere-Eglise. So this is the basically the end of D-Day. We've got to on the airborne side. I'll just now briefly go over and show where the furthest drop, a misplaced drop, happened, and we will then have finished our airborne section of D-Day. So we've done Operation Tonga, the British 6th Airborne, over on the eastern flank, and now we've done the 82nd and the 101st with their mission Boston and Albany. And so in the next series of streams, podcasts, we'll be looking at, we'll start off at Utah Beach, and we'll look at the actual invasion, and then we'll work our way down the beaches, Omaha, Gold, Juno and Sword, and we'll finish back up at Pegasus Bridge. If you enjoy this kind of stream, then please give a like and a subscribe and recommend it to anybody. If you think you've spotted a mistake, or you've got other information, or you think you want me to talk about something else, then just let me know, and I'll add it to a stream at some point. Okay, so this here, we're coming up on Carentan, and you can see we have Sainte-Mere-Eglise should be up here. And I just wanted to quickly show you guys the approach that they made to Carentan in the days to come. We will cover this in more detail when we do the Normandy campaign at some point, which will be D-Day +2 to D-Day plus 65, which was the liberation of Paris. But I hope you get this sort of sense of the scale of the operation. You can see up ahead the spire of the church at Sainte-Mere-Eglise. And this area, as I say, was all flooded. And what I'm going to show you here is the road that goes into Caratan, that was known as Purple Heart Lane. There was no avoiding trying to cross down this road. So we'll just come around here now. We should see the road itself. This is a modern road here, which wasn't there at the time. But the smaller road is where the Purple Heart Lane begins. And this is the stretch here. Very low level meeting of the Murderer and the Douve. Waterlogged on both sides, narrow road, a couple of bridges, maybe 3 or 4 bridges across. And we'll talk about this as well during the Normandy campaign. The Easy Company of the 2nd Battalion, 506th, Dick Winters, he avoided Purple Heart Lane. But it came around this way from the west, and if you remember in Band and Brothers, where they're going down the road into Caratan and there's a machine gun at the house at the end, you can see that here. It's this road, I believe one of these roads here is this one here, I think. And they came down this road, and this is where Winters was shouting at them to get going, and this is the house right under the nose now. This is Caratan. Quite a lot of fighting when you see them in the arches. You've got the Padre, it's in that in the square where the that triangle square by the church. Right, let's come around here. By the way, this is the lock here. This is what the Germans were using to back up the water and flood the land. And just for a little reference as well, just out here, I believe to the west is where Easy Company push up to try to control some of this relatively higher ground. If you remember, the Band of Brothers is the one where Blair gets the little Edelweiss flower from a German soldier, and the German tanks arrive. It was basically here on. Let's just pause here. And that ridge is this ridge here. I'm not absolutely sure, but I think it's in this area that they were dug in on. You can see here there's a marker stone that commemorates it. So I think this is likely to be the sort of the scene of that that battle after where they were trying to repel the German counterattack. It's in this region here. Okay, let's carry on to Montmartin. So, like I say, the whoa. The headquarters company so of the 82nd Airborne, around about 30 sticks of 82nd Airborne came down in the 101st Airborne's area of responsibility. And the headquarters, though, of the 1st Battalion of the 507th, they were one of the last serials of the night, and they were dropped 5 miles south, sort of southeast of Carentan. So they were at least 30 miles off course. So I'm not really sure why that was, but they came down basically in this sort of area that we're crossing now. And they became, so the Montmartin Engrand is a kind of like a church on a sort of a hill. I believe you can see it here coming up, and all these paratroopers were falling in this area here. And if we let's just go a bit lower, the church was kind of a focal point for the troops to go towards, and it was on a higher ground. So they're a long way behind enemy lines here. And there's a whole story about this drop. There's probably something like 200 odd troops managed to get to this place. There's immense bravery on the part of the villagers who decide to help the guys. they had repercussions because of it. These guys end up, fighting. The Germans become aware of their presence, and then they end up, I think, the 17th SS Panzer Division, Panzer Grenadier Division arrive, and they wreak a lot of havoc. They still go about some of their jobs. They go in and get lots of equipment from these sort of flooded areas, bringing it up. They blow up bridges. They do a bit of sabotage. And when the Germans realise that there's a pocket of Allied troops here, then they move up and take them out. And the repercussions for the villages is pretty bad. There's talk of massacres. The paratroopers were shot, villagers were murdered. But it's definitely a subject for a whole episode on its own. Eventually, about 150 of these guys managed to make it back, either pushing up to Omaha Beach, which is up behind us here, or to Carentan, and linking back up with their units. But this is one of the very sad stories of the day. And it's one where I think they put retribution on the church, because the vicar, or whatever they call them in France, helped, and there's it's one of these ones where the church hasn't been rebuilt. Anyway, there we go. That is the 82nd Airborne on D-Day. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Like I said before, please help out a small YouTube channel. I'm on 10 subscribers. I'd like to get to 12, maybe 13 if I push it. So if you have been watching and found any of this interesting, then just click that like and subscribe and notifications and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.